Hello, welcome to another of our tutorial. In today's tutorial, our attention will be focusing on input and output devices. In this tutorial, we will also educate you on some of the devices that are both input and output, as you can see on the diagram. While some devices mentioned here are only input devices and others output devices, there are others that serve both as an input and output devices. As you can see in the diagram at the center part of it, you see that camera, most of digital camera nowadays have a flash, touch screen, the CD or DVD, webcam, fax machine, and so on and so forth can serve as an input and output device. So in the course of this study, we are going to see these devices one after the other and get a better understanding of why we should categorize this one as an input device and this other one as an output device. When we are discussing about an input and output device, we must note that an input device is only allowed for input of data to a computer, and output devices only receive the output of data from another device. There are so many input devices, and we are going to discuss many of them. These input devices allow users to send signal to the computer to perform a certain task. The receiver at the end, in this case, is referred to as the central processing unit, the CPU, which then sends such signal or such data to the output devices that are responsible in carrying out such task. Among many other input devices that we are going to talk about, the most popular is known as keyboard. There are several types of keyboards, among which are sampled here. The keyboard nowadays make use of USB port, or sometimes we can actually connect them to the computer wirelessly. If you may recall, in the time past, we do have the port that we call serial port when it comes to the keyboard. We also did add, we had then a PS2 mount, that round mount, and the one that was a bit on a four corner in nature. But here in today's computer, most of them we are using either USB or wireless keyboard. Among the keyboards, the most popular is the one we are seeing here, the QWERTY keyboard. And this nature of keyboard are seen in nearly all the offices today, although there are many other types. Up next, we are going to discuss about some pointing devices. So further along, as we are going to go around many pointing devices, one of which is called mouse. Mouse as well as the keyboard comes both wirelessly and USB, because just like the keyboard, a mouse allowed you to actually input things into the system. Take for example, suppose your keyboard suddenly develop fault and stop working. You could go into your system and click open the on-screen keyboard, where you can use your mouse to click accordingly in order to execute or input anything you so desire. Among others refers to as pointing devices is the one you can see here that is called trackball. Trackball is another type of this kind of device. You can see where the man places his finger on. Accordingly, as it moves his finger around that little ball, it directs the cursor accordingly. Up next, another pointing device is called sticks. Pointing sticks. Pointing stick is the little red-like things you see on the keyboard. It's actually bordered with three major keys in a QWERTY keyboard. It bordered with G, H, and B, as you can see in this keyboard. It was first invented by International Business Machine (IBM). It was to serve as an alternative mouse which we can use to move our cursors around the screen if we do not want to use the one from the pad. We also have joystick. They are used in order to input things into system, and many of us are familiar with its usage, especially when it comes to gaming. So these are categorized as an input device. We have many more, as you can see, light pen, which a mere drawing on the screen can actually be saved into the computer and transfer what was drawn by our light pen into the computer, and it can even be saved into the secondary storage device. There are much more of the input devices like our touch screen. Many of us have computers that are touch screen as well as our phones that are touch screen. With our fingers, we can use the touch screen to input much on our computer. Remember that touch screen is an input and as well as output device. What do we call it? Input output device. Why? Because in the process of you typing into the system, it serves as an input device. But remember that it's a screen that also displays what is going on accordingly. So it's also serves as an output device. This type of output device are often referred to as soft output. What about stylus pen? A stylus is a pen-shaped instrument designed specifically for touch screen use. For touch screen use. Sometimes there's a pad that you can draw on it. Accordingly, it appears on your system, and we can just save it, and it serves as an input device. Graphic tablet, as you can see in the images here, a main drawing with such a pen can actually be transferred into the system and saved, making such an object or a device an input device. What about voice input? You may notice that in most cases now, most of devices or computer and alike allowed for voice input. In Office 365 2022, you can actually use voice input to input text from Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and alike. Why? Because voice input have improved over the years, allowing much more from voice to be imputed into the system, and that can be saved accordingly, making it as one of the devices for input. Audio input device. There are many objects that serve for this purpose, like microphone, like our earpiece, and alike. Even our keyboardings, some of the keyboards, type of keyboards that allow for those kind of sound to be echoed out. These are called audio input devices because they are actually used to input sometimes audio into your computer. This can serve the purpose of as and this does that makes it qualify to be called an input device. Even our digital camera nowadays, most of our digital camera can serve both as an input and output devices. Webcam is much like the digital camera just mentioned. These also serve as a dual purpose, both as an input and most of them too as an output device. You may remember that over the years, the technology has kept improving, allowing some items or some devices to serve as both input and output devices. Now we are moving toward the scanners. And in the following slide, we are going to see some types of scanners and how they work. Well, if we may speak a little about this nature of sheet field scanner. It's much more interesting type of scanner that allows you to do some sensitive things. In this type of scanner, if it was a textbook, you have to detach them one after the other, placing them on the upper part of it where you can see the first one there. As soon as you place them, it picks one after the other, scan and drop them, as you can see, at the lower part of the machine. By so doing, you can scan much at a short interval. It is sometimes referred to as industrial scanner, which is our work and makes it much faster when it comes to scanning documents. It is very interesting to note of another nature of scanner which many of us are not too familiar with. It's called drum scanner. As you can see, as the gentleman placed it, this type of scanner is used mostly by the publishers. It actually captures the highest quality from any images you print. By so doing, the quality of the image stands out, and I allowed a larger size of image to be placed, unlike most of the previous dimensions that only allowed for A4 size or a little above A4. So this is more on a bigger and more industrial nature, which are often used by big publishers in order to improve their work. Well, we are now on this optical character recognition. As you can see, with the help of that character recognition, the handheld, it's as you move around the document, automatically it captures it and convert it to a document or to electronic copy. It's actually involved in the use of the lights, as you can see, as a source to read the typewriting or handwritten document, and then it translates the image into text. While optical mark recognition, this is often used to mark multiple questions, multiple choice questionnaires, and some people who are actually writing exams, especially in some countries at the entrance exam, they will likely have exam paper of this nature, which they have to shade accordingly. It's maybe from ABCD, sometimes down to E. As soon as they are done with the exam, they will take it to this machine and it will automatically mark it accordingly, giving the result of each of the students. That is why it's always advised to shade accordingly. When wrongly shaded, it could result in a wrong answer to a candidate. In order to get it marked much faster and better and easier, this is the machine for it, and it is referred to as an barcode reader. Of course, many of you using supermarkets and using many of the outlets like that are selling a given devices and a given device and other things, you often see before the seller could hand over you the items, it will pass through a given machine, or it will take the handheld scanner and then just do the barcode of it. As soon as it points there, it press something on that you can see here, and automatically it captured the code. It allowed the management to know how many of the items was purchased and which of their staff actually sold those items. Keeping in check of what is going out and how much money is coming in makes easy, because each of these barcodes are unique only for that particular object. Or magnetic ink character recognition. This is often used in accounting area where bankers make use of these three major characters. In these three major characters, take note. It consists of 1. Bank routing number, 2. customer's accounting number, and then the check number. So with these three things inscribed in here, as you can see at the bottom right, without the cashier can easily identify the check. And you may notice that in most cases when you are presenting a check to a cashier, it passes through a given machine. We just put it to the machine, you hear a sound, and by so doing able to identify the authenticity of that particular one. Moving on to the output device, just as we had on input devices, in output device there are some of the items mentioned here that are serving both as an output and as well as an input as earlier mentioned. So now let's go to some of them. In monitor are mostly categorized into two. One called CRT and the other called LCD. The CRT actually have to do with the cartridge red tube, whereas the LCD is referred to as liquid crystal display. Before now, we were only having the CRT. As you can see how it looks inside. There are so much activities that have to go on in this vacuum tube, as it helps to generate in electronic bumps, and at the final result it display on your screen. This was what was in vogue in 80s, 90s, even late 90s, even early 20s. However, we have another output device that serves the purpose much better. Another type of monitor, as earlier mentioned, the LCD. And this LCD is generally a flat panel, as you can see in nature, as a display just like your television, your flat television, those plasma and alike, and smart television. It's in the same shape and have things in common. This display and makes it much easier. These two are referred to as output devices. Moving to the printer, there are several types of printers based on its function, the purpose to which it was designed. The following are some of the printers and their function. Please follow accordingly. But before then, let's focus on two major types of printers. The two major types of printers. We are going to deal with impact printer as well as non-impact printer. You can see an example of an impact printer. So, impact printers were popular in the past. However, non-impact printers today, it has become much more in use. So, the following are some of the non-impact printers that you're about to see, the nature or types of non-impact printers. Another types of output device is called voice output. Any device that allows your voice to be output, that helps to transmit the voice from either your computer or any computer related devices. Able to magnify such voice are referred to as voice output. Popular among these is as speakers and sound cards. What about fax machine? Well, some of us may not too familiar how fax machine works if we have not used it. So let's explain a little about how fax machine works. In a fax machine, as you can see in this image, the below image, this particular object is being scanned through this part, through this machine called fax. As before placing it or scanning it through the fax machine, the particular fax that this is to be sent to are going to be dialed by the left hand, as you can see from that image. After dialing the numbers, that's more like normal phone numbers, which represent another fax machine that is sent to no matter the country or the location. The items or the paper is passed through the fax machine, as you can see on the right hand side. The fax machine receives it. As it is, it goes through and comes out at the bottom side of the machine, as you can see toward the bottom part of the machine. From there, it is sent to the locations to which it was destined to. Upon getting there, the receiver will notice that there is a message. All he will need to do is to put a paper to the machine and press the button to accept to print. Automatically, a duplicate of what was scanned and sent through the fax machine is printed out by this other individual or other companies. So the fax machine also serves the purpose of an output device, although it can as well be referred to as an input device based on it. This is another type of an output device, microfilm reader. Physical, both for laptop and desktop, serving the purpose of an output device, assisting to output either the sound or whatever it was meant for. Smart card. You remember that anytime you slot in your smart card to maybe an ATM, you notice that automatically it may welcome you with your name. Apart from welcoming you with your name, it also allowed the machine to be able to know your account details, allowing you either to withdraw or not. By so doing, with the help of the smart card, we can refer to it as an output device, allowing you to output the content of your account according to the chip assigned to by the card. We also have a projector, data projector. Many of us are familiar with this because as we attend some of the occasions like seminar and alike, we see this being in use. If you notice, if you were to put on a projector, a data projector, without connecting it to a computer, it will not give you any meaningful information. The best you can have is just a light. But when it's properly connected to a computer, it actually outputs what is being it actually outputs exactly what is going on your computer screen. So a projector can serve the purpose of a soft output, or otherwise known as an output device. What about speakers and headsets? These are another type of output devices that actually gives you the ability to generate a soft output that though you cannot see, but you can feel its presence. You can dance to. Why? Because there is an output aided by the microphone, speakers, headset in order for this to work. So we refer them to as output devices. I hope you do enjoy the tutorial so far. Do you need much more of this nature of tutorial? So why don't you visit my Dan Computer Training channel? Make sure that you like this video. Leave us comments. Tell us which topic will you like us to discuss next when it comes to computer. As we come your way in our next tutorial, remain blessed. See you then. Thank you so much. Bye for now.